Hey, good people, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving you all my review on Love Marriage Huntsville, the latest episode. So let's talk about Martell and Destiny. Destiny is moving into a storage unit. She used to have a physical store location, but because of the pandemic, I guess it didn't do well. So now she has moved into the e-commerce space. Now, the thing about Destiny and this e-commerce business that she started is she still selling hair care products? Like, what's going on with Madani? I know a lot of people feel like her business won't do well. And what I have to say to that is I applaud Destiny for even trying, right? The fact that she was able to open up a brick and mortar store, the fact that that store didn't do well and she still decided, you know what, I'm not going to let this thing go. I'm going to move into e-commerce. E-commerce, I think that is something to be applauded. She did not give up. She's still chasing after whatever dreams and aspirations that she has. And I give her credit for that, considering all that she's been through, having to be on food stamps, Melody loaning her money, going bankrupt, getting a divorce, being a single mom. She has a lot to be proud of, and I hope that she really does do well. Martell comes by the storage unit and he's kind of venting to Destiny about being frustrated with Marsau in a recent interview that he did. Looks like Marsau was answering a question about DV, and Martell is saying that the case is still pending. There has been no verdict or anything like that, but he is somehow going to a different court to get the judge to make a decision. I was very confused by this whole thing because I could have sworn I saw articles saying that he was found guilty, but according to him, he hasn't been found guilty, and he doesn't like the fact that Marsau is speaking on the situation and speaking about him in a negative light, given the fact that they're supposed to be friends. This is obviously leading up to what we're going to see happen at the end of the episode. Let's move on. We see Kimmi is invited over to Mel's house. This is given I have to produce this scene and try to get whatever I can get out of Kimmi because first of all, this cast does not go to Melody's house often, if at all. I think this is the second time that we've seen Kimmi at Mel's house. First time being when we first were introduced to Kiki. She's inviting Kimmi over to have a workout. You know, Kimmi is in remission with cancer, and one of the things that she needs to focus on is her health and wellness. So they do a nice little workout, and at the end of the workout, Melody is asking her about Maurice's DUI arrest. She asks Kimmi how she's handling the situation, and Kimmy's just like, I'm good, we're good, everything is good, like all is well in the Scott household, which we know naturally that is just not the case. First of all, Kimmi reveals in last week's episode that she didn't even know where Maurice was. She drove by his place of business and he was not there. This was like in the wee hours of the morning, mind you. So she was concerned enough about him not coming home that night that she went out to go look for him herself. Secondly, it has to be embarrassing that your husband got a DUI, especially somebody like Maurice, because he is always trying to Dr. Martin Luther King us with his speeches. I would love to know what he said to his son about his arrest. We have seen him kind of reprimand his son so many times on his high perch that I just would have loved to have seen the scene between him and his son and seen how he explained the situation that he put himself in. Mel reveals her grandmother was unalived by a drunk driver. So this is something that definitely hits home to her. We see later on in the episode where Kimmi is going to talk to Destiny and basically reveals that no one in the group has reached out to her about Maurice's arrest. And maybe because this situation obviously hits home to some of them. I think for the most part, Kimmi is definitely protecting Maurice, but she also is struggling, maybe not verbalizing the struggle, but definitely her physical reaction to the questions that Mel is asking. And her defensive demeanor suggests to me that she is having a hard time dealing with this situation. And obviously, we know that, like, we're not fools. I think it's also interesting that after the DUI, literally, if I'm not mistaken, based upon what I've read and heard, the next day, Maurice is at Black with Tisha and Marsau, and they're all chanting "Free Maurice." He's like in a party atmosphere. Regardless of if he was drinking or not, that is problematic within and of itself. That lets me know that you're not taking any accountability for the position that you put yourself in. And he really does have so much to lose. I mean, the man is a lawyer. He could be disbarred based upon his actions. Not to mention, he's a Black man, okay? Another thing to point out, and I have to admit, I did not follow this whole Maurice arrest because really I was just tired of seeing the cast of Huntsville be arrested. But it seems like he was picked up by the cops in the middle of the day. Now, I don't know why this is so significant that Melody is trying to get this out of Kimmi. What does that really suggest? Maybe that he does have a problem. I think a lot of people will say if you drive under the influence, perhaps you do have a problem. But that's something that we need to focus on too, because Kimmi is a little defensive about the time of day that this occurred as well. She's really not letting on to much of anything. Let's move on. In the next scene, we see Letitia and Marsau together, and I am just so sick and tired of Marsau and Tisha, honestly. And I'm saying Tisha because you are in association with this man. I don't know why he always embarrasses her. And I don't know why she allows him to get away with it. I would think after all these seasons on the show, she would have already had a conversation with him, letting him know, like, yo, you need to lay off me a little bit. You come at me really hard. And it's quite embarrassing. As your wife, I'm asking you to stop because I give you the utmost respect. I expect that when we film, you're going to give me the same. And we see that that's just not been the case with Maurice. I think every chance he gets, he bashes Tisha. And it's just so uncomfortable and cringy to watch. He says in his confessional that your wife could be your biggest obstacle or your biggest supporter. And yes, I agree with him, especially as it relates to marriage, but it goes both ways, sir. Your spouse could be your biggest supporter or your biggest obstacle. And I have really yet to see Tisha be his biggest obstacle. I honestly feel like it's the other way around. He's her biggest obstacle. Like, she has tried to start her own business, tried to get herself out there and network. You guys remember way back when Melody came by the house and she told him last minute that she was going out with Mel to a networking event, and he was giving her a hard time when she talked about the fact that she wanted to use her degree. She has a master's degree, and I think he only has a bachelor's degree. So even if we're talking about level of education, your wife is more educated than you, sir. But she wanted to use her master's degree. He had an issue with that. So I feel like every step of the way where we see that Tisha is trying to build herself up and do stuff for herself, he has been an obstacle for her. I think he needs to take a look in the mirror and think twice before he says something like that about his wife. They're building a nice house in a neighborhood that is nice, but is not as nice as this house is going to be. And her suggestion is for them to reach out to the neighbors in the community, letting them know what they're doing with this house. And I think that that's a great idea. I myself am a part of Facebook groups and community things that are going on, and we get the information. And a lot of the times you will get a lot of support when people are aware of what you're doing. But Marsau wants to be tight-lipped about it. And I feel like if you're going to be tight-lipped about it, then obviously you might have more issues than if you're just open and honest and tell people what you're doing. I don't know. I just feel like Marsau uses Tisha. Even her owning more of a percentage of the company, we see that that has no weight in terms of her decision making within the company, right? I think that she's listed as the CEO of the company simply because she's a woman, and they probably get a lot of grants and different things like that based upon her being a woman entrepreneur. There's a lot more things out there for females who start their own stuff. So he's been using her. He does not value her input in their business. This is evident when he basically kicked her out of the office that they had. So I'm just really sick and tired of seeing these two go back and forth. It's getting quite old. Most of the storylines on this show are getting quite old to me. And it's like, how long can this show last, honestly? She also wants Marsau to kind of fix things between him and Martell. She feels like it's going to be an issue if they meet up and they have these unresolved issues. We see from Marsau, he really does not care. It looks like he has checked out of having a relationship or wanting to have a relationship with Martell. He's done. She also urges him to check in on Maurice based upon the legal trouble that he's found himself in. Marsau is like, I have been his brother for the last 45 years. You think me saying something to him is going to change anything? Or he's also saying, listen, I know how to be a brother to my brother. He was just very mean spirited towards her in regards to this, kind of just like not wanting to talk about it. And I just found it to be interesting that it's okay for him to shame her and her family, but when it comes to him and his, he doesn't even want to bring it up. To me, that's just another red flag. I don't know what Letitia thinks in her mind. Maybe she feels like she's given him the best years of her life. Maybe she feels like she will not be better off without him. But I think Tisha would really be able to come into her own if she were not connected to this man in the way that she is. That's just my opinion. Like I said, I don't really want to focus on their relationship, but it's just like, girl, how many times are you going to allow him to be disrespectful and to not value what you have to say? It's just crazy to me. Let's move on. Destiny and Kimmi meet up. It's really nothing going on. I find them both to be boring. The more that we know about Kimmi, the more that she's just not likable to me. That's just my opinion. You guys drop a comment down below. Let me know what you feel about Kimmi. Let's move on. Let's talk about Martell and Marsau. So it is the day of Destiny's field day event, whatever. Let's get down to the main part of this particular scene, the back and forth between Martell and Marsau. Martell, with the help of Destiny, confronts Marsau about the interview that he did. Their argument really gets crazy because Martell is continuing to say that Marsau has cheated on his wife and he has the proof. He will bet Marsau $50,000 that he has been with 20 other women in his marriage. He's telling Marsau he needs to take a lie detector test. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And you can just see like Tisha is over it. She does not want to hear any more about this cheating stuff. She is just done with this always being something that they have to deal with. And I get it. Martell to me looks like a fool because he's supposedly has this proof that he never really shows. We don't know what's going to happen in the next episode, but I doubt that he brought any proof. Probably doesn't have the $50,000 in the bank. Do I believe that Marsau has stepped out on his wife? Absolutely, he stepped out on Tisha. He just knows how to cheat the right way, if there is such a thing, because he clearly has not been caught or he's with a woman who just doesn't care. So that's pretty much the end of the episode. The other things that I just want to point out, one of the main things that I want to point out, because I'm just wondering, am I the only one who sees this? Do y'all see sometimes how Martell flirts a little bit with Tisha? Like when they embraced before the field day started, he was like, when I pulled up, I was wondering who that girl was in the pink or whatever color she had on, alluding to the fact that she was looking good. This is not the first time that I have seen Martell compliment Tisha in her physique. And it's crazy to me because I feel like he has complimented her more on camera than we've ever seen her own husband compliment her. Not to mention the fact that he's doing this in front of Marsau. It's not something that he's hiding or shying away from. And Marsau, it's like, dude, do you see this? Are you paying attention? Or do you really just not care that another man is showing your wife some attention? I almost feel like Martell feels like he don't have to worry about Tisha. Like there's not going to be anybody that's going to come and want to be with her, or that she's so loyal that she won't seek anybody else out. And I think that might just be a mistake. Okay, I think he's just a little too cocky, a little too confident when it comes to her. I also want to point out the fact that we have an excuse as to why Tish is not a part of this field day, but where is Stormy? Is this around the same time that she was saying she's done with the show? Because I don't foresee seeing her anymore in these episodes that are coming up. And I'm also wondering, is she going to do the reunion? You guys, let me know what you thought about this episode overall, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.